We're just bombarded with information every single day, right? News channels, social media, newspapers, they're all fighting for our attention, and all of it is shaping how we see the world. So, with all that noise coming at you, how do you even begin to decide what to trust? How do we know which sources are the real deal and which ones not so much? It's a huge question for all of us. Well, the answer, and this might surprise you, goes way deeper than just fact checking. It really comes down to this invisible moral compass. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the ethical rules that guide media organizations, the code that separates trustworthy journalism from everything else. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we first have to talk about the incredible power these media organizations actually wield. Think about it for a second. These organizations aren't just companies trying to make a buck. They are incredibly powerful social actors. They're shaping how we think, what we value. They're even a huge part of how our democracy functions. I mean, that is a massive, massive responsibility. So how in the world do they handle that kind of responsibility? Well, that's where this moral compass comes in. It's the framework we call ethics. And, it's super important to get the difference between what's legal and what's ethical. The law, that's like the bare minimum, right? It's the floor you can't fall through, what you do to avoid getting in trouble. But ethics, that's a whole different ballgame. It's about striving for something higher, guided by a mission to build trust, not just avoid a lawsuit. Yeah, this quote absolutely nails it. The law sets the minimum standard, but ethics, that's what credible journalists are always reaching for. It's that commitment to a higher standard that truly defines the media we can rely on. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are the core principles that actually make up this ethical compass? Think of these as the rules of the road for trustworthy journalism. Okay, rule number one, the big one, is accuracy. This is the bedrock, the absolute foundation of everything. It just means the information has to be true, verified, and from sources you can actually rely on. If you don't have accuracy, you've got nothing. And this example just shows you how high the stakes are. Imagine it's a national election. If a news outlet gets the vote count wrong or misquotes a candidate, they could literally mislead the entire country and mess with the democratic process itself. That's how vital accuracy is. All right, next up, we have fairness. This goes hand in hand with accuracy. It's all about making sure you represent all the important perspectives on a story without your own bias creeping in, so the audience gets the full picture. So, let's say you're doing a story on a big healthcare debate. Fairness means you can't just talk to the politicians, right? You've got to bring in the experts, the doctors, and here's the crucial part, the actual people whose lives are going to be changed by these decisions. And then there's this really interesting one, social responsibility. This is where you see the real tug of war between journalism as a public service and journalism as a business. It's this idea that they have a duty to serve the public good, to put society's well-being first. And wow, this example really hits home. Picture a public health crisis. A news outlet could totally use scary headlines and hype to get more clicks and viewers. But the socially responsible thing to do is to provide clear, calm, accurate information that actually helps people. It's a huge choice between making a quick buck and serving the public. But let's be real, following these principles is way easier said than done. There are all these modern-day threats that are constantly trying to throw that moral compass way off course. I mean, look at this list. It's like an obstacle course for ethics. You've got the explosion of fake news and misinformation, the pull of sensationalism for clicks, political pressure, owners pushing their own agendas, and just the simple fact that news has become a product to be sold. And believe me, these threats are not just theoretical. This quote brings up something called brown envelope journalism. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Journalists literally getting cash in an envelope for positive coverage. It's a pretty shocking reminder of how easily money can corrupt the whole mission. Okay, so with that whole minefield out there, how do the good guys fight back? How do responsible news organizations protect their compass and actually earn our trust? Well, it takes a real deliberate strategy. First, they lay down the law with clear ethical guidelines, a formal rule book. Second, it has to start at the top. Editors and leaders need to walk the walk and push back against those external pressures. Third, constant training is key, especially now with things like AI and misinformation getting so tricky. And finally, you have to have accountability, systems to fix mistakes, and importantly, to listen to you, the public. But here's the thing, in the end, this isn't just a conversation for journalists. Understanding all of this actually empowers us, the audience.
It gives you the tools to be a smarter news consumer and, honestly, to demand better from the sources you follow.
So here's my challenge to you. The next time you're reading an article or watching a news report or just scrolling through your feed, stop for a second and ask yourself, what compass is guiding this story? Is it pointing towards accuracy, fairness, and social responsibility? Or is it pointing somewhere else? Because that answer, well, that tells you everything you need to know.